welcome to Game 8 of the 2012 high school football season. Tonight the Brown Deer Falcons are in town. This game is the last regular season game for both teams, as Brown Deer is coming in at 5-2, while Greendale is coming in at 4-3. It won't make a difference what happens tonight, as both teams are in the playoffs. Brown Deer would kick first to start the game. After the return, Greendale would begin their first drive of the night from their 21. They were now going to see if they could maintain a drive without mistakes like they have been in the last two games. They slowly and surely chipped away at the Falcons, throwing everything but the kitchen sink at them. 13 plays later, they reached the end zone on a 4-yard slant pass as Josh Ringelberg connected with Mitchell Breeze for the score. Mr. Steady himself, Frank Rukowski, would make the point after try, making the score 7-0 with 7:20 left in the first quarter. After the ensuing kick, the Falcons would start from their 22. Greendale's defense was all over them with their quickness and forcing the punt, going 3 and out. After the kick, Greendale ended up starting from their 47. 2 plays later, Ringelberg was looking for someone to pass to when he was hit trying to throw the ball and fumbled, of which Brown Deer would recover on Greendale's 42. Greendale's defense continued to make life difficult for Brown Deer. They would get off 8 plays before turning the ball over on downs at the Panther 29. Ringelberg and company would come back out and start their next drive. Again, they would nickel and dime the Falcons up the field. Eight plays later, they reached the end zone again on a 9-yard run by Ringelberg. Rukowski made the kick, and Greendale now found themselves up 14-0 with 1:26 left in the first quarter. On the ensuing kick, Greendale specialty teams would have a close call as the return man almost got loose for a score. He would eventually get tripped up, but not before returning the ball 63 yards to the Panther 33. This time the Panthers would bend but not break. For 8 plays later, they would stop the Falcons on downs at the 9-yard line. It was now the second quarter. The Panthers' offense was still keeping Brown Deer off balance as they were mixing up the plays very effectively. Plays later, Ringelberg hooked up with Breeze again, who made a nice catch and backed it up with an even better move to get into the end zone for another Panther score. The kick was perfect, and Greendale now found themselves pulling away by a score of 21-0 and 9:07 left in the first half. After the following kick, the Falcons would start from their 17. The men in black picked up right where they left off as they were flying around the field, causing all sorts of havoc. They eventually forced the Falcons to punt after 7 plays. After a short kick, Greendale would take over on their 46. 4 plays later, Ringelberg would find one of his other receivers in Cody Metz, who made an amazing catch for a 35-yard score. Rukowski made the point after, and Greendale now found themselves blowing this game wide open by a score of 28-0 and 4:47 left in the first half. Brown Deer would begin their next drive on their 26. This time, Greendale's defense would come up big as safety Jack Ringelberg would grab a tip pass out of midair and return it to the Brown Deer 47. Smelling blood, the Panthers' offense, who was firing on all cylinders, would take to the field. Plays later, Ringelberg would find yet another weapon in Peter Picard, who made a great catch and managed to stumble his way across the goal line for Greendale's 7th touchdown of the game. The kick was true, making the score 35-0 with 2:54 still left in the first half. After a close call with a fumble on the kick return, Brown Deer would start from their 15. Plays later, Panther defender Nate Miller stepped in front of a Falcon pass and returned it to the 11-yard line. Greendale was now looking at a very short field this time around. 2 plays later, Ringelberg would throw an inside shuttle pass to Picard for another Panther score. The kick was perfect, and Greendale now is up 42-0 with 49 seconds left in the half. After the ensuing kick, Brown Deer, who seemed to have no answers for Greendale's speed, would begin from their 31. They would get off 2 plays that went nowhere to finally end the first half. The Falcons would get the ball to open the second half. With a 42-point lead and a running clock, they would begin from their 25. Nothing seemed to be going right anymore as they were forced to punt going 3 and out. The Panthers would now come out on offense for their first time in the half. In the very first play, a Falcon defender made a great play batting down a pitch, forcing Ringelberg to go back and fall on it on his 7th. He managed to get the ball to the 26 before having to punt for the first time in the game. After the kick, the Falcons would take over from their 44. It seemed like the Panthers were playing with 15 guys as they continued to pursue, swarm, and make plays. They ended up forcing in the punt going 3 and out. There was now less than a minute in the third quarter as the clock continued to run. Greendale would take over on their 25. They would keep it on the ground and run 8 plays, taking the ball all the way to Brown Deer's 14 before turning it over on downs. It was now well in the fourth quarter as both teams were substituting players. The Falcons had a close call with the safeties. Linebacker Parker Byshinski almost tackled the runner in the end zone. The official said that forward progress took them to the 1, which is where they would have to punt from. After the kick, Greendale would take over from the Falcon 21. They would run 4 plays and then take a knee to end the game. Greendale would win with surprisingly ease as they defeated the Brown Deer Falcons 42-0. I don't think anyone would have expected this going into the game because Brown Deer was tied for first place in the Woodland East Conference, so they had everything to play for. For some reason, they came out flat and had no answers for stopping Greendale's hybrid spread offense. Greendale's defense played fast and quick and continued to disrupt the Falcons' offense all night long. This by far was Greendale's best performance of the year as they kept the mistakes and penalties to a minimum. With that win, Greendale would finish the regular season with a record of 5-3. Going into tonight's game, Greendale was already in the postseason playoffs. This win would be important though, as it would help their case in being seeded a little higher than it would have been if they would have lost. As a result, Greendale would be seeded 5th in the WIAA Division II Southeast bracket, and they will be playing the Wauwatosa West Trojans again for the first round. That game will be played at Wauwatosa next Friday and will begin at 7 o'clock. Hope to see you all there. So long.